press release is out on Dufferin Oaks. I just got a copy of it.
Yep, there we go.
Okay, if everybody's ready, my clock just turned to 3 o'clock. So Sandy, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're live.
Welcome to the residents of Dufferin Caledon and the town of Orangeville. It's Mayor Sandy Brown. Today I've got a distinguished panel of guests here. What we'd like to talk about are the various supports that the various levels of government and agencies are providing for citizens. Today we have the Honourable Federal Member of Parliament Kyle Seaback. We have the Honourable Member of Provincial Parliament and our Minister of the Solicitor General, Sylvia Jones. We have Dufferin County Warden and Mayor of Melanchthon, Darren White. And we have the Executive Director of the Orangeville Food Bank, Heather Hayes. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So, Minister Jones has to go to another important meeting at 3:30. So what we're going to do today is open up with Minister Jones. If she could please provide us with the recap of what the provincial government is providing for its citizens and maybe some contact information and how folks can get in touch with your office and the provincial government programs that you're offering. Minister Jones.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. So as you know, this is a very fluid and changing environment that we are living during this pandemic. Premier Ford, on the recommendation of Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health, ordered the closure of all non-essential businesses to further contain the spread of COVID-19. And if you have questions on a list of what those essential workplaces are, please either contact my office or the business information line at 1-888-444-3659. And all of these numbers and websites are available on my website, Sylvia Jones MPP. So on March 25th, we provided an economic update to Ontario, and we are making $10 billion available to improve cash flow for people and businesses through tax and other deferrals over the coming months to provide relief during this challenging economic time. We are providing a 5-month interest and penalty-free period for businesses to make payments for the majority of provincially administered taxes. Beginning April 1st, 2020, Ontario is providing flexibility to businesses to help manage their cash flow during this challenging time. This will continue for a period of 5 months up until August 31st and is expected to make available $6 billion to improve the cash flow of Ontario businesses. Working in conjunction with the Government of Ontario, the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board, or WSIB, will allow employers to defer payments for a period of 6 months. This will provide employers with $1.9 billion in financial relief. The government is deferring the property tax payments municipalities make to school boards by 90 days, which will provide municipalities with the flexibility to provide over $1.8 billion in property tax deferrals to residents and businesses. We are supporting employers through a proposed temporary increase to the employer health tax exemption and a proposed new regional opportunities investment tax credit. The federal government, of course, will be covered through Minister Kyle Seaback's remarks, but we are working closely with all levels of government and will continue to do everything we can and consider all available options in order to get through these challenging and uncertain times. Again, if you are looking for additional information, my website, sylviajonesmpp.ca, has additional information about COVID-19. And of course, my office is available by phone and email. And again, I would thank Mayor Brown for giving me this opportunity and happy to take any questions.
Okay. Panelists, do you have any questions currently for Minister Jones? Seeing none, I just wanted to thank you. I know, Minister Jones, you're a cabinet minister in a sitting government right now, and your responsibilities are not just for our municipality and our region here, but for the whole province. And we really want to thank you very much for taking time out of your extremely busy schedule to join us today. And again, Sylvia Jones' website and also ontario.ca are where you can find a lot of good information for all the things that the province is trying to do to help us through this difficult time. So Minister Jones, thank you very much for your time today, and I know you've got to get on to some other important business, so thank you.
Thank you.
All the best. Mr. Seaback, good to see you again, sir. And I just wondering if you could provide us with...
Sylvia Jones
is now exiting.
Very good. Mr. Seaback, if you could give us just a recap maybe on some of the important programs that the federal government is providing to our citizens, and over to you, sir.
Sure, and thanks for having me back on the show again. The first thing I want to talk about is CERB, the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit. So this is the big benefit that's going to be paid to anyone who has, there's a whole bunch of qualifications here for it, but basically it's going to be for anybody who's earned $5,000 worth of income in the last year. It's going to provide $2,000 a month for up to 4 months. And this is for people who had to stop working due to COVID-19, people who are sick or quarantined, or working parents who have to stay home because they don't have childcare, their children are sick, workers who still have the employment but are not being paid because there's not sufficient work, and it's also for self-employed individuals. So it's a pretty broad application, and the important thing I want to say is not all the details are rolled out yet. Applications will be able to be submitted on April the 6th. And the important thing I think for people now, if you're listening, is you can apply for this through your MyCRA account. So if you don't have a MyCRA account, now is the time to sign up and get one. And if you need to know how to do that, you can get in touch with my office. The phone number is 519-941-1832, or you can send me an email, kyle.seaback@parle.gc.ca. And we're putting all of this information up on our website. So the goal is going to be to have that money delivered to people within 10 days of them doing the application. That's why it's so critical that people sign up for their MyCRA account, because it's going to be the most seamless way to apply for the benefit. I also want to quickly talk about the announcement that came out with respect to business support, and that is the subsidy will cover up to 75% of employees' first $58,700 in annual earnings. So it could be payments of almost $850 a week. The details on this are still rolling out, and these are some new ones that we just received. It's going to be for businesses regardless of size whose revenue has decreased by 30% or more due to COVID-19. So the other important thing I think is that all indications are right now is that this is going to be also eligible for charities and the not-for-profit sector. So I've received a lot of emails from people in the riding asking what help and what support is going to be available for the charitable and not-for-profit sector. My understanding is right now that they are going to be able to apply for this benefit. A few other quick ones just to talk about some finances for people. And I talked about this last time, but it's worth mentioning again. The Canada Child Benefit is going to be increased, providing an extra $300 per child, which that's again for any family that qualifies for the Canada Child Benefit. There's going to be a special GST payment, which is going to be for low and modest income families, $400 for individuals, $600 for households. And you're also going to defer your tax filing until June 1st. One other quick thing to mention, I've had emails on this from people as well. Are businesses able to defer HST payments? And yes, the answer is yes. Just like you can defer paying your tax installments if you're a business, you're also going to be able to defer your HST payments. So the goal here is going to be to keep as much money in the pockets of business so that they can pay their employees, pay rent, pay their mortgage, whatever else. I think those are the real big sort of updates and things that are going on right now for support for individuals. And I would just reiterate to people, I know how hard this social distancing is, but everyone's doing it and we have to keep doing it. All indications are that it's working and it's going to help keep us all safe in the long run. And that's my quick update from last week.
Very good. So what I'm taking out of both Minister Jones and Mr. Seaback's reports is cash is king. They're trying to allow everybody to keep as much money in their pockets as possible for essential purchases like food and your rent and things like that. So thank you to both levels of government, provincial and federal, for recognizing that and letting people defer certain payments without penalty. So very good. Any questions from any of our panelists for Mr. Seaback?
Thanks, Your Worship. I do have one, Kyle, if you don't mind. I've had a couple of residents ask me questions regarding folks who have multiple incomes. I have one gentleman who has two different sources of income. One of those sources is essentially shut down and the other is not. But that does mean a substantial reduction in his income generally. Is he able to still qualify for the emergency benefit?
So so we still don't have all the details, but my understanding really is this: if you've suffered a loss of income, you're going to be able to apply. I wish they'd roll out all the criteria faster. They haven't. What I've been advised so far is effectively there's going to be this application is going to be very simple. It's going to be 2 questions. It's going to be, did you earn more than $5,000 in income last year? Yes. Have you suffered a loss of income? Yes. And then you're going to qualify. Now, so that's my understanding of how the process is going to work. But I don't have the full rollout details yet. And it's a new program, which is why it's taking the government some time to do it. Once I do have the details, I will be putting them out. I've been sending out a letter to all my municipal counterparts once a week. If you haven't been receiving it, please check your spam filter. Sandy, I think yours might have gone into your spam filter. And I'm putting the details on the website. So as soon as I know, it'll be up. And I think that person is going to qualify.
That's great. Thanks very much, Kyle.
Kyle, I have one question here. This came in from Councillor Joe Andrews, town of Orangeville. He's just wondering if you could give the contact numbers and website information for small businesses looking to access those wage subsidy programs.
I don't have those details in front of me, but I'll tell you what, I will absolutely get those out to you as soon as I have. I'm just gonna try and look through my notes here and see if I can find something on.
If they're not up now, they will be able to be up on your website, which again, if
they
you
absolutely will be.
Your website again, Kyle, if you could give that to the folks out there.
It's kyleseaback.ca. So just my full name, kyleseaback.ca.
Okay, very good. Okay, so panelists, any other questions for Mr. Seaback before we move along? Seeing none. So Warden White is joining us from his home in Melancton. He's not able to join us via video right now because there's some internet connectivity. So it brings about a point that Mayor White, Warden White and I have talked about a lot, and that is whether internet should be an essential service, and the rollout of internet, more robust ultra high-speed internet into the rural areas of the country is paramount. So Warden White, that's as a quick introduction to you, but I'm wondering if you can provide us with an outline of what things the county is doing for its citizens. Over to you, sir.
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship. I certainly appreciate being invited to be a part of this as well today. And you are correct. A crisis like this does, in fact, highlight even more so the importance of rural internet not only in Dufferin County, but across the entire country. We're already seeing issues with connectivity. Everybody's being told to work at home, but when you try to work at home, even in built-up areas, you can't get connection. So it's very important that is addressed moving forward. From the county perspective, with the as you know, as a municipal mayor, we're sort of really the boots on the ground in a crisis like this. The county has had its emergency operations center up in a monitoring capacity for more than 2 weeks now, and late last week moved to a declaration of an emergency in concert with some of our lower tier municipalities. The ones that haven't, I believe, will likely be following this week. So our emergency operations center is fully staffed and operating now, doing a number of issues and a number of things. So I'll go by department sort of to let you know where we stand. As a person that, or as a level of government that gets its tax revenue from the municipality, certainly we were going to defer to the different payment deferments that are being made by the lower tier municipalities. So Treasury is obviously actively engaged as we roll through this crisis because there will be a lot of last minute and short-term purchases, that kind of thing that have to be made. When you look at Public Works, we are certainly proceeding as planned at the moment with our different road and infrastructure projects for the summer. That, however, may change with capacity and whatnot. One of the important things to notice under Public Works is the waste management. And as you will know by some press releases just the past couple of days, for the next 2 weeks, we are allowing a double bag limit all across the county. And it's not that we're just trying to confine it to 2 weeks, but we are going to reevaluate it every couple of weeks as we move forward. Today is the first day that has been in place. The uptake seems to be about 20 to 30% of people are taking advantage of that, but that could change as we roll out. And the reason we are looking to reevaluate that continuously is simply that, the waste management sector, like every other sector, has expected job impacts with regards to illness and whatnot as we move forward. So at some point, we may have to readjust on the fly with regards to how our waste is picked up, how much waste is picked up, recycling programs, etc., like that. So that's an important thing for people to know. When we talk about community services, the provincial government has announced a lot of programs. They're coming at them rapid fire out of the province these days with regards to Ontario Works and Ontario Disability Support. Those programs there is emergency funding available. It is not available across the board. It is sort of individual based. So the best opportunity or the best advice I could give is for people who are affected or on an Ontario Works claim or an ODSP claim, that they should contact their worker, all of whom are still working in the community services department as well. They should get in touch with their worker, have a conversation about whether they qualify for any of those emergency payments, sort of trying to hold them over until the payments through the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit start to come through. When we talk about long-term care, the long-term care home that we operate, Dufferin Oaks, is locked down at the moment. It has been for a number of weeks. And unfortunately, as you will see by a press release that just came out, just this morning, we found out that one of our staff members has tested positive for COVID-19. That staff member is at home in self-isolation. They have not been into work since well before they were symptomatic. So we are monitoring that effectively, or at the moment, with public health and other health professionals. We obviously, for folks that are most vulnerable, we certainly want to be very on top of it, and we are going to put a lot of resources into making sure that we certainly keep those folks in a very safe spot. So that is actively happening right now. They're doing tracing of where that staff member has talked to, other staff members and whatnot, and that's evolving at this minute. So other than that, most of the programs or most of the things that the county is offering are sort of immediately tagged with the programs that the federal government and the provincial government are offering. So we're looking, we take that information that we get from those levels of government and we're trying to disseminate it into exactly what's going to happen on the ground. We're also working with public health very strenuously for some stronger messaging for some of our social housing properties. Some people just don't seem to want to stay home or stay in. And I mean, it's understandable if you're living by yourself in a social housing apartment that, maybe you feel you need some physical contact and whatnot, but it is very, very, very important right now for people to stay home. And as the days go by, as you watch the news that's coming out right now, it's more important than ever that we double down our efforts and really try to get a handle on this. So that's about it from the County of Dufferin perspective at the moment. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. I'll check my list, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Great. Any questions from panelists that are still online for Warden White? I just wanted to make one more comment, Warden White, back to internet and cellular coverage. Something that I haven't seen the upper levels of government talk about was relaxation of payments on your cell phone bills. Right now, the cell phone is the communication tool where we are getting all of our information from the various levels of government. In fact, it's the contact with families now, and it's also an emergency call-out device as well. So I would hope that the upper levels of government could suspend any type of disconnection of cell phones in this very critical time in our history. So again, Mr. Seaback, have you heard anything about that? Has there been any discussion at a higher level that you know of?
So, as you know, right now Parliament's suspended, so we're not really able to raise these issues in Parliament. I can tell you this. We've had discussions in our Conservative caucus with respect to this, and it's definitely something I'll be raising. I have a conference caucus call tomorrow, and those of us that have large rural ridings, we know the challenges that are being experienced by people right now, not just with respect to poor connectivity, but lots of overages as well, as everyone has their children home. There's some teachers who are offering some online learning. I've had constituents writing to me with enormous bills for data overages. It's something that we are going to raise with the big telecos. I know that when I have my conference call tomorrow with our caucus, I'll be raising it that we as a caucus should be writing to Rogers and Bell and TELUS and all the large providers and saying you need to waive these overages in rural areas during this crisis. If we're asking people to stay home, they shouldn't be charged an arm and a leg in order to comply with what the government's asking for health. So we're going to raise this very aggressively with those companies.
Right, and depending on how this rolls out in the next 2-3 months, there may be some real learning that goes on online. And for those who are trying to keep their children busy, there's lots of programs available online, lots of educational programs, and the use of data is going to be spiking for sure. So we need to give families some relief on that front. So thanks, Mr.
There's a lot of companies that are doing really good things right now. We saw Sunwing was offering free flights to bring people back. There's companies that are retooling like Bauer and many others to manufacture personal protective equipment. I am calling on the big telecos to join in being good corporate citizens and help Canadians from all across this country, coast to coast, in rural areas that are getting really, really overcharged for data usage. And we're going to really push them to make some changes. They should be good corporate citizens and make those changes.
Right. Good point. Okay, so keep our program moving along. I'd like to introduce again one of our community heroes, the Executive Director of the Orangeville Food Bank, Heather Hayes. Heather, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I think Heroes is stretching it just a little bit. There's a
Well,
whole team behind us.
Yes, I know, but we know it requires leadership. We all respect what you do over there. We know you're doing great things, and that you've come together with a number of other organizations to create Dufferin Food Share. So I'm wondering if you can elaborate a little bit maybe on the move that you've made on Dufferin Food Share, and how what your new protocols are for delivering food to those who are in need now. Heather.
Absolutely. And thanks for having me on today. I appreciate that. I also appreciate the ministers taking time to be with us as well. They're extremely busy. So a few weeks ago, when the COVID-19 crisis started ramping up, we moved from a shopping model, which would have people coming into the food bank, to a drive-through model. So people would come around to the back of the building. We would stand the requisite 2 meters away from them, take their order. Volunteers would pack it in the food bank and then set it out on a ledge for them to pick up. And then we knew that there was a lot of food programs in the area, and if you have limited resources, you go to all of these food programs, because we at the food bank can really only provide about a week's worth of food a month. So all of those programs, including St. Vincent de Paul, St. Mark's, Westminster United, St. Vincent de Paul, Salvation Army, and ourselves got together and decided that we would have a centralized food location that we would call the Dufferin Food Share. And we were lucky enough to have Grand Valley, the concern, join us as well. So now there are 2 spots in the county that you can receive food from a centralized location. The first one is the Salvation Army, located at 690 Riddell Road. We will be open 5 days a week at that location. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 10 until 1, and then Wednesday nights from 5 until 8. If you are a Grand Valley resident or live closer to Grand Valley, they are open by appointment Mondays from 1 until 3 and Thursdays from 5 until 8. We are both handing out non-perishables, which will come in boxes that are pre-packed, and unfortunately that's non-negotiable right now. And then we'll be adding in milk and eggs, meats, prepared meals, food for kids, pet food, the same kinds of things that we would always distribute here, but perhaps with not as much choice as we used to have. And those items will be available in Grand Valley as well, whereas typically they would have passed out non-perishables and a voucher for the local grocery store. What we're trying to do is reduce the contact that people would have with each other while accessing food. So we're pretty excited about this partnership and very thankful that everybody's come together.
Right. What about people that don't have vehicles? How are you able to help those who are at home?
Absolutely. So people who don't have vehicles, typically people would walk to get to our service as well as drive. They can still walk to both locations to pick up the food that they'd like. Grand Valley is located now out of the arena at 90 Main Street North. So walking is fine. We are working on a delivery model, but we'll only be accepting referrals from various agencies in our area to make sure that we can track the food that's going out and make sure that we're supporting as many people as we can. As you can imagine, this has been a really challenging situation. A lot of our volunteers are much older, so few of our volunteers are available right now to help us with this, and we are training people as we go to make sure that this model can roll out smoothly. And so I'm not quite sure. I'm hoping to have the delivery model up and running by Monday.
I was just looking up here. I'm not 100% sure. Is the Salvation Army on the public transit route?
It is absolutely on the public transit route, and it was very kind of the town of Orangeville to waive the fees for transit, making it easier for people to get out there. Absolutely.
Right. So you have a walk-up model. Obviously, people can arrive by public transit and drive up, and you're currently looking at a way to get some deliveries organized. And Minister Jones had just announced in our meeting earlier that the provincial government is providing additional, I think, $10 billion in funding to help with transportation and delivery of goods to those who are in need.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you'll be able to tap into some of those funds in the very near future.
Absolutely. We've been working closely with emergency management and the County of Dufferin, and they are loaning us their Meals on Wheels program to do these deliveries going forward. So we're very thankful for that partnership. And we've had tremendous support from the community, not only from the town of Orangeville as well, the county, Lavender Blue Catering. We had several towing companies come and help us move into the new Salvation Army location. And then we have partners like the cafe located at Center Fellowship Church, who is actually turning the restaurant food that's been donated to us as they've closed down into meals. So it's been a huge community effort to get to where we are and to support the community.
Great. A lot of giving people out there helping in a time of need. So it's wonderful, wonderful news. So I'm just wondering, Heather, what about volunteers? You mentioned earlier about volunteers. Do you have enough? Do you need more?
We could use some more volunteers. If people are wanting to support us, that would be fantastic. So they can contact our new email address, which is contact@dufferinfoodshare.org. And we have a volunteer who's monitoring that. They'll take the volunteers' information and put them where we need them at this point. So that would be fantastic. If people want to make donations to the food bank, we are still accepting donated food, but it'll be put into 2 bins, either the front or the back door of the food bank, because that food will have to be set aside for 3 days as we quarantine it to make sure that the virus is not there. And then if people want to make financial donations, they can do that through Canada Helps and look for the Orangeville Food Bank, and we'll process that money to support the food programs going forward.
Right. Are you targeting a particular age group for volunteers?
We would like volunteers under the age of 70 who have no pre-existing health conditions, in particular, no conditions that would affect your breathing or your lungs. So those are our guidelines right now. Some of the work that we do involves heavy lifting, but some of it could be traffic control for us. Some of it could be picking orders. There are lots of things to be done here in the next little while.
Very good. All right. For the panelists that are still on board, any questions for Heather? Seeing none, we'll move along. So I'm here representing Orangeville Town Council and the staff of the town of Orangeville. I just want to give a recap of what we've done and what we're continuing to do. So on the financial front, Town Council in its council meeting a week ago is waiving penalties and interest for anybody that cannot make their property tax payment currently due to financial stress. We are encouraging those that are able to continue to pay their taxes to please do so. The town still needs funding to run, and these arrangements really are for those who are deeply affected by job loss and other financial matters that are happening right now. Again, Orangeville Hydro has offered the same thing, and of course, embedded in your Orangeville Hydro bill is your Town of Orangeville water bill. So we're waiving any penalties and interest for those who are unable to pay those bills currently in order to keep money in their pocket for essential things like food and transit and other important things. So, which was mentioned earlier, our public transit is free. We've increased the cleaning protocols on buses. Some of the seats have been blocked to ensure social distancing. We're asking those who ride the public transit system to enter through the rear door, if possible, keeping some distance from our drivers. Obviously, those with mobility issues will be entering through the front door where there is a ramp on our new style of buses. Our library service is offering online. There's some fantastic things available online. We encourage you to go to orangeville.ca, and if you don't have a library card, you must sign up for one. You will be able to get a virtual library card through the library service right now. Things like searching for genealogy through ancestry.ca, or accessing newspapers and magazines from over 100 countries in 60 languages, all available through the online portal that the library service is offering. Lots of ebooks, lots of great entertainment, lots of good educational information for children who are home, and parents encouraging them to improve and carry on their education. Some questions have been asked regarding, spending at the town. All those things are being reevaluated right now. There'll be some discussions along those lines in our council meeting on April the 6th, the week today. Things like public infrastructure projects that were funded by provincial grants or by development charges, I think will likely carry on. Those projects, the money funding those projects can't be diverted and have to be used for those things. I think we need to keep some of the economy moving, and some of those infrastructure projects are to replace and improve, which we always have to continue to do. There'll be, as I said, there'll be further reporting from town staff and discussion by councillors next Monday. The town staff has been great in trying to keep all of our essential services running. Of course, all of the waterworks, the wastewater treatment plants, our public works people, even the Parks and Rec folks are out doing their jobs, maintaining the social distancing required, but making sure that everything that's essential in the town of Orangeville continues to run smoothly. If you do have any questions about the services that we're providing currently, it's all available at orangeville.ca, and ontario.ca, and of course the federal government websites as well have copious amounts of information. I think we all have to realize the number one concern right now is our health and the social distancing and trying to get through the healthcare crisis. Second, and very closely aligned, of course, is the economic impact that this is causing. And I think all levels of government have done a very good job in trying to lessen the blow, make sure those that are in need are getting what they need to, have a roof over their head and to feed their families. And I take my hats off to all those at the upper levels of government who have been, forced into this very, very difficult situation, and I think are doing a great job in providing solutions. I don't know if anybody else would like to weigh in with a final statement. Maybe Kyle, are you still on board? Would you like to make a final statement?
Yeah, no, I'm still here. I just wanted to reiterate the statements I've made before. I think we're doing really well in Dufferin-Caledon. People are taking the time to make sure they're engaging in social distancing. There's not large gatherings of people. I think we have to keep doing that. I've been to the grocery store. I try and go once a week. I know that people are keeping their space. These are important things. And I think the other really important thing is hand washing. Obsessive hand washing. I don't think I've ever washed my hands as much as I do now. Every time I go out of my house, I come back in, the first thing I do is I wash my hands, because that really is the number one way to stop the spread, is make sure that you got your hands clean. Keep up the good work, everyone. We're going to get through this. I know it's not fun. I know it's not easy, but we're going to just soldier on and get through it and come out better than before.
Great. Thank you, Kyle. Warden White, would you like to make a final statement, sir?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to reiterate some of what Kyle said. I agree. And, even though so many of our businesses and residents are doing a great job, dealing with what's the new norm now, there still are folks out there and businesses who are not. And those folks need to get on board. This is not, it's no longer a time for taking this lightly. It's time for serious action. The numbers across Canada and in Ontario have shown that we're not doing as well as we would have wanted to, flattening the curve. So it's time to double down, as they say in poker, and bring it home. Thanks.
Great. Heather, if you could just give us a little wrap up as well, please.
Sure. I just want to thank everybody for their patience and understanding. We have yet to have anybody be upset with the changes to our new food service. And that says a lot, again, about the residents of the area. People are understanding about what's going on. We would like to reiterate as well how important it is to keep your distance, to self-isolate if necessary. It's huge for us. So many people have outstanding medical issues, and we don't want anybody to suffer because of this. So a huge thank you to the community for everything that they're doing, for all of the support they continue to show for the food bank, and from all levels of government for their support as well. To echo everybody else's comments, we'll get through this. This too shall pass, and we'll be okay, and we'll become closer as a community because of this. It's a hard time, but we'll get through this. So thank you.
Thank you. Again, to reiterate what all three of my guests have said just now, the Chief Medical Officer of Canada issued a statement this morning. Again, I'm going to use that double down statement that Warden White used. Very, very important that we keep the social distancing. We don't get into any gatherings. Kyle reiterated again about, your personal hygiene whenever you leave and come back into your own home, to make sure you wash whenever you're into a new an opportunity to use hand sanitizer, whether you're out to do that. Very, very important. Somebody said, I heard this in the last 2 or 3 days, that our parents, our grandparents, our great-grandparents fought in real wars where people died at the end of a gun, and they fought in trenches. And so, we're fighting a war right now, and we're being asked to lie on a couch and watch Netflix. That's what we're being asked to do. And although it's an annoyance, and there is a lot of anxiety, we can get through this by listening to our medical and public health officials who are following the data as it's come out of the other countries that this virus has already roared through. And we have to learn from what's happened in other parts of the world. We have to adopt what the medical professionals are telling us. And I haven't seen one medical professional who hasn't said this is a very, very, very serious problem that we're dealing with. So let's all pull together. Let's take advantage of all of these levels of government and the assistance that we're provided to those in need. Thank you to the food bank. Thank you to Dufferin County for all the social services that they provide, and a special thanks to our provincial and federal governments for stepping up with huge financial programs to help us through this tough time. So I guess it's 3:43 right now. We're a little bit ahead of schedule, but I want to thank again my guests for coming on. Our federal MP Kyle Seaback, our Minister of the Solicitor General Sylvia Jones, Warden White, and also Heather Hayes of the Food Bank. Thank you so much for taking time out today. Lots of great information out to our residents, and I wish everybody well, and let's hope we get through this and that we're putting this in the rearview mirror as soon as possible. Thank you. Okay, Dan, I think we're good to go. All the best.
Thanks, Sam.